Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. I have some really interesting stuff to share with you for the next few episodes of Video Clips. But before we start, just a couple of quick announcements. On May 9th, this Thursday, Chef Dell will be doing a program called Cook Once, Eat All Week. This is an amazing class that he teaches where you can use some common ingredients and whip up a whole bunch of stuff in an hour or an hour and a half and then eat for several days. So if you run a busy household or you live by yourself or you just don't have a lot of time to cook, this is a great class for you to take. It's teleconference, and he'll spend the balance of the time, once he shows you this technique and gives you some ideas for how to do it, he'll spend the balance of the time answering your food and cooking questions. And then, I'm really excited about this. On Tuesday, May 14th, Dr. Armady May from Los Angeles, who is a veterinarian, is going to talk about pet health. Now, the reason we're going to do this is we all know that we consider our pets to be like children in fur coats, and we're very concerned for their health care and well-being, just as we would be for children. And there are lots of questions. I mean, people email me all the time about questions about pets, and I tell them I know a lot about health care for people, but not so much about pets. So Dr. May does acupuncture. She makes house calls, nice old-fashioned touch for a veterinarian to make house calls to visit with animals. And it'll be your chance to ask questions about your own little furry creature and how you can treat him or her even better. So I don't know that anybody could treat my cat any better than he's already treated, but in any case. All right, so let's go on for today's topic. And as I mentioned, this will cover the next few episodes. I read an amazing book called Catastrophic Care by David Goldhill. I watched him deliver a lecture on Book TV about this book. I was so excited I ordered it right on the spot. He and I don't know each other, but many of the things that we say about healthcare are absolutely identical. In fact, there are parts of this book, it looks like I wrote them. I don't know if I should be flattered or if it's a happy coincidence, but we do think alike about a lot of things. He just is providing an enormous amount of data and documentation about how miserable the system is and dysfunctional it is, and a great perspective on how the Affordable Care Act will most likely make everything considerably worse. But the best part is by the end of the book, he's come up with some solutions. I love to criticize things, but I think you should always have constructive solutions, and by the time we're finished, I'll share with you his ideas, which I think are really interesting about how we could fix it. Now, Goldhill uses analogies. I use them all the time too. Probably one of the reasons I like this book, to explain concepts. And his analogy for healthcare is that healthcare exists on its own island, where the rules are entirely different than they are here on the mainland, where you and I live and where all other businesses exist. And the marketplace dictates certain things that don't get dictated on the island. And he paints the picture by saying that life on the healthcare island is just like the Galapagos Islands, set so far off the shore of the mainland that there are odd creatures not seen on the mainland. And there are some odd creatures in healthcare. On the healthcare island, policies and regulations that don't apply to any other business are applied. High prices, poor quality, poor service, and there are actually incentives to continue the bad behavior. You get rewarded for it. There's plenty of blame to go around, but one of his targets is insurers. He calls them the surrogates, and these include private insurance, Medicare, Medicaid. We essentially, as a population, have appointed the surrogates to make healthcare decisions and to try to control costs for us, and there's no question that this isn't working out so well. How he got interested in this, he's not in the healthcare business, has never written a book before, but Goldhill's father, a physician, died in a hospital as a result of a preventable error, and that got him interested in healthcare. He's head of a gaming company, and after his dad died, he decided to write a piece about the shortcomings in healthcare. It generated a lot of response. He reports, in fact, that people on all sides of the issue liked his article. But he said nobody got the main point, which is that our entire approach to healthcare needs to be rethought. Instead, what we keep doing is attempting to reform the existing system, keeping it as it is. He really feels like I do. We need a revolution in healthcare. The most recent attempt to reform the system, the Affordable Care Act, just means more insurance to pay for more health care with more regulations, restrictions, and pilot programs. It's not reforming the system, it's just an extension of the existing system. It promises massive expansion of programs that are already bankrupt, like Medicare. It'll make things worse, and it will add to the perverse incentives, hidden costs, and result in reduced access to care, one of the problems it's purported to solve. Goldhill lists several things that differentiate life on the island from the mainland, and I'll give you just a few of them. Starting with his disagreement that average people can't understand healthcare. That's one of the arguments that gets made on the island. We have to have surrogates making decisions for us because average people can't understand this. Well, people in the United States buy all kinds of things that they don't understand every day based on their ability to gain enough understanding about it to make an intelligent buying decision. And I'm talking about things like satellite TVs, GPS devices, computers. I'm not a programmer and I don't know much about computers, but I've bought a bunch of them over my lifetime. In healthcare, nobody makes it easy to understand what's going on, and they don't have to. It can remain mysterious, and consumers don't even think that they can demand good explanations for what they're being asked to do. Another issue is we don't talk about the price of things in healthcare. In every other industry we do, my gosh, turn on the television on any given day and we're talking about the price of things like gas. But in healthcare, we talk about costs as if they're inevitable and that there's no room to negotiate. We confuse health with healthcare, and they're not the same. In other words, the factors that predict health are wealth, education, and lifestyle, not access to healthcare. Lots of people on the planet don't have access to healthcare like we do in this country, and they are far healthier than we are. Goldhill says rightly that health insurance isn't healthcare. And it's this misunderstanding that I think has created a lot of problems. And health insurance is actually a recent phenomenon. It was started in 1929, and employer-sponsored health plans really didn't start to become popular until World War II, when wage freezes made health insurance plans a way to recruit workers. In 1954, very few Americans had health insurance, but an interesting thing happened, and that was that Congress passed a law mandating that, or allowing health insurance to be a deductible expense for employers and not taxable to employees. And the idea at this point in time was that insurance for healthcare would be the same as it is for everything else. It would cover catastrophic care, but this changed a lot over time. For example, as late as 1965, a third of all Americans were not seeing a doctor every year. Today, the expectation is that all things should be reimbursable by insurance, including routine doctor visits, and almost everybody thinks that they should go have one. Goldhill uses my favorite analogy, which is that we could not turn in routine maintenance on our cars and houses to insurance carriers because the resulting premiums needed to cover these routine maintenance expenses would make property and casualty insurance unaffordable by almost everyone. Yet anything that we have to spend out of pocket for health care is considered an inadequacy of our insurance plan. Another misperception is that having insurance is the same as having access to health care, while not having insurance means you don't have access. And this isn't true, but it was the driving force behind the Affordable Care Act. The confusion between insurance and care, quote, sentences us to the highest possible cost of funding care, end of quote. Health insurance really isn't insurance. It doesn't work like any other form of insurance. Health insurance doesn't fund just unexpected losses like other insurance. It funds all expenses. Using healthcare is inevitable for all of us. It's just a question of when, and the risk is when certain things are going to happen. Instead of a true insurance product, which means indemnifying people against unexpected losses, insurance has simply become a funding vehicle for delivering health care. Health insurance companies are intermediaries, remember he calls them the surrogates, and these companies employ, look at how big this industry is, 500,000 workers, one for every 2 doctors, with an administrative cost of close to $1,000 per American every single year. Reimbursement is biased in favor of things like pills, tests, and procedures, and against more useful services like lifestyle counseling. So in other words, the system will pay for an expensive test, but it will not reimburse a doctor for spending time to counsel patients about lifestyle habits, for example. So we'll pick this up again on Thursday. There is much more to talk about in this very fascinating book. Again, the name is Catastrophic Care by David Goldhill. As usual, feel free to pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.